Comparison is a system error you must remove. It's not about your mindset, it's much rather about input control plus behavioral focus. Hi, welcome. My name is Kanchefu, and here we talk about personal development. In particular, we talk about life after therapy. If you're new here, make sure you press subscribe, but if not, welcome back. So, let us begin. Feeling left behind is a common feeling after healing. That difference between what once was into who you are now is quite the distinction. It's quite a new place, and that transformation can put you in a place that is quite uncomfortable. So in today's discussion, let's remove the idea that life has a fixed timeline, a way and order things are meant to happen, because who is the one that told you that, and are they really following that pattern? In feeling left behind, there's a lot of internal pressure that can build to try and understand what's urgent and even that self-doubt. But what if that feeling is created and not real? Let's talk about that comparison a bit further. Because there's the famous quote, comparison is the thief of all joy. Now, when comparison is a natural feeling and thought without your command, what purpose does it play? What does it actually contribute? Much rather, what is it trying to tell you? Because as we know, it's very easy to measure your progress against others, whether we realize we're doing it or not. And then including these social timelines of how life should be at certain stages at different ages, it creates this artificial pressure. This artificial structure that isn't always easy to conform to nor to structure. And with that in mind, I end up thinking that comparison, it makes what is actually happening in life seem distant and away from what apparently should be happening. And then you combine that with healing that disrupts that previous life trajectory. So no wonder progress feels slow when compared externally, as it all results in feeling behind despite progressing forward. I definitely want to reinforce, you're not behind. You're just comparing incorrectly. But I want to support you with that thinking further. So let's discuss that. I want to ask you a question. What would life be like if you remove those external timelines, replace comparison with controlled focus, and then rebuild your identity through your internal standards? Would that sort of thinking, being and behaving support you, or would it continue to lead you down a path that is incongruent and against who you are? You could do one thing. You could remove comparison inputs. And what I mean by that is reduce the exposure to those comparison triggers, the things that make you compare, and limit that external reference point. When you see something, it makes you think, oh, instead of reminding you of where you're going, it reminds you of where you're not at. And really stop measuring against others. Because really their position, place, and point in life is not what you're really looking for. So let's continue thinking, okay, what else could help? After removing these comparison inputs, you could define your personal timeline. And that means focusing only on your current phase. Where are you in life right now? And then alongside of that, identifying what matters now, so that we just remove this long-term overwhelmness. And what you see we end up doing is reducing this big picture into defining specifically what your life is like today. Okay, great. So you've done those two steps, but let's go further. Narrow your focus. Select one priority area and ignore any other unrelated progress, so that we eliminate this divided attention. By identifying one area you want to work on in your life, solely focus on that area first. Your mind tends to compare. But even after all that, you have to measure that internal progress. It's all good and well taking these steps and thinking new light and taking action in a new way, but track your personal consistency and measure your behavior, not your position, because that will reinforce that movement much rather than looking externally and seeing, oh, things haven't changed. But if you look internally, oh, you're shifting, then you'll recognize how much of a shift is made. You know, saying those 4 points makes me want to establish that timeline is personal. Your timeline is personal, is accustomed to your life. That includes not only what you want for yourself, but your friends who are involved, family, work, education, health, finances, relationships, and so much more. So the one thing you're sure to develop or be able to work on is that behavior. And progress is behavioral, not external. So moving from comparison into control. Somebody who compares himself constantly checks others much more than they check on themselves. They feel behind and switch direction, which causes losing focus all in all. So the way of being isn't in conjunction with who they believe to be, so it ends up attaching to anything and anyone, which creates that distortion, not only mentally, physically, but spiritually and emotionally as well. But someone developing that inner control focuses on one path at a time and then ignores external timelines. Oh, you should be doing this at this time. Why haven't you achieved this? Why aren't you there? And then tracks that progress that they are making, which builds that consistency. You see, comparison creates pressure, but focus creates progress. So could you choose one area of your life and commit to focusing on it for the next 30 days, removing comparison completely and tracking those daily actions to avoid switching direction but build momentum through that consistency? It's not about becoming this best self, but much rather stabilizing this identity. Me making that proposal to you is to encourage you and to start making your mind think about, is this something I could do to support myself or not? And that's how I'm going to leave it today. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion. If you did, make sure you press subscribe and also share this with a friend or family member you know would like to hear this topic. My name is Kanchefu. If you would like one-to-one support in working on this feeling of feeling behind, comment the word reset or click the link in the description to fill out my Rebuild Scorecard, which will identify which area of life you're in right now and what those next steps could be moving forward. Just before we go, I want to ask one last question. Where do you feel behind? My name is Kanchefu once more. Have a good day, morning, night or evening, for wherever you're in the world watching this, and I'll see you next Monday for our next discussion.